John, is it hot in here?
Yeah.
What? Son of a pitch.
Kensil Culture, Puppets, Props, Puns, Podcasts.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, that pop culture magazine, Kensil Culture. And here he is, the head devil himself, Mr. John Kensil, talking about Tinseltown.
That's right, people. I'm John Kensil here. That's Legendary Wid. This is Kensil Culture. Ow. I don't have it on me. Anyway, I love Hollywood, music, movies, comedy, right?
Wait for Hollywood.
Right? And I recently picked up a cool book called Hollywood Secrets and Scandals by Sue Cameron, right? And it looks like one of those self-published books, but she was a publicist.
Right? And she swam with the sharks.
Yes, she did. And she was like a Hollywood reporter, not a gossip columnist, but like an entertainment notoriety. You know, what's going on? Oh, I saw Dean Martin, with a fluffer. But it was interesting because she was a publicist from the 60s till like today, probably. She probably still does work, so she's probably in her 70s. But very interesting, Hollywood Secrets and Scandals. And what it is, too, she befriended a lot of stars. Okay? She was friends with Mama Cass. Cass Elliot.
Cass Elliot, who didn't choke to death on the sandwich.
That's just what I was going to say. And she wasn't a member of the 27 Club. She was a member of like the 33 Club.
Okay.
32 or 33 Club. The 27 Club was like Kurt from Nirvana.
Kurt Cobain.
And Morrison, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin. But there's a 33 Club. People died at 33. John Belushi, Chris Farley.
Oh, okay.
Grover the Muppet. But
I want to belong to the 93 Club.
Yes.
No, 97 Club.
For IQ.
Hey, let's go.
No.
High IQ too.
But who knows? Yeah, it's true. But it was very interesting. But she had stories. But she befriended a lot of people, and she was friends with Mama Cass Elliot.
Okay.
Right. And if you ever saw the band, a picture of them, they're called the Mamas and the Papas. It was San
Francisco based.
2 men, 2 women. One woman was extremely beautiful, Michelle Phillips, John Phillips. I forget the guy's name was, and Cass Elliot. Denny, right. Well, Cass
Canadian. He was Canadian.
She could sing. She had a very beautiful, strong voice, like Ethel Merman. Very good, strong voice. But she was, put it politely, Rubenesque. She looked like a jukebox with legs, right? But she could sing really good. Well, she was friends with this woman here. Very good friends. And she went through trials and tribulations of her life. And
was like a mama-in-law.
Yeah. And it was also kind of mean, too, because if you read this, John Phillips, the lead singer of the band, who formed the band, was mean to her. And like, what do you call it? Publicly mean to her. Like making fun of her weight and stuff. And she always took it in stride. But this woman here says, I know it hurt her feelings. It has to, for a woman being made fun of her girth.
Oh, I'm sure, and you know,
and she was.
He was a scumbag. That guy.
Real scumbag, and it came out later on that he had sex with his own daughter, Mackenzie Phillips, from One Day at a Time and American Graffiti. She was the older sister on One Day at a Time. There's Bonnie Franklin with the red hair, Eddie Van Halen's wife. And
we saw John Phillips and his daughter at a restaurant on Route 22. And they were coming back they went to rehab at a place in New Jersey, the same place that Woody Guthrie went to.
Yep.
And it was sort of a mental institution and a rehab sort of place. And they were, it was so funny that the dirt came out after.
Oh, she wrote a biography about how her and her dad would he introduced her to drugs, and then they used to have sex. And just really, that's one of the darkest things I've ever heard of a celebrity scandal.
Yeah.
That's probably that.
Yeah, that's pretty dark.
And
and it doesn't get that much. It is so dark that it's sort of like you had to brush it away. They didn't.
I think she's related to the pretty blonde from the band Wilson Phillips.
Okay.
Right. And I think the Wilson sisters are from the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
Right. But that's a horrible story. But he was evil to her. There's a song by the Mamas and Papas that has the chorus, and no one's getting fat except Mama Cass, and she had to sing that on stage.
And Richie getting
exactly. It is a catchy song too. And I've seen videos of Mama Cass on like laughing, doing fat jokes. On their Carl Burnett show, doing fat jokes. Well, in like 1972, she was on a tour of England, getting ready for that.
She broke up. She went on a solo.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And with Words of Love, Words of Love. She had a big time hit that everybody sang. That was that was part of the nostalgia craze.
Dream a Little Dream of Me, or one of those.
Dream a little dream.
And it's a real pretty. But she also had drug issues. And in the book here,
LSD, they like to do LSD.
Exactly, and said that she was always doing crash dieting, then gaining it back, crashing.
Pills.
So she was doing speed to lose the weight and other things.
Right.
And but she was in an apartment. And who else died in the apartment? Was it Brian Jones or Jimi Hendrix? Somebody else died in the apartment.
Oh, it was Jimi Hendrix in the same apartment in England that was owned by Nielsen.
Harry, no, that's right, yeah. And somebody else was there's a third star that was involved in that room somehow too. But so she died, and she supposedly died of a drug overdose. Supposedly, it's almost certain. But they said you can't let her go out on a note like that. So somebody said
she's a mama.
Yeah, someone said her heart gave out, and in the initial report of the police report of the room, she was found dead in her bed, apparently of a heart attack. On the nightstand was a half-eaten sandwich, right? Somebody said it was a ham sandwich.
It wasn't a half-eaten sandwich. It was a shorty hoagie from Wawa. Okay, and it looked like it was half-eaten.
It was a ham hock, right? So then that's all the story said. Somebody said she choked to death on a ham sandwich. Well, that's one of the biggest rock and roll rumors for years. Mama Cass choked on a ham sandwich, and it's not true. But when they found her dead, her assistant called this woman and said, how can I say this to the public, how she died? And I think that's how the ham sandwich story came out. So
isn't that?
Oh, but this book's interesting. It's one of those ones you read a chapter a night. All right, but I have something saved there I want to tell you about.
Let's see some of the things. Okay, that's chapter 1.
Yes.
Chapter 1 in this. So they must have been, okay, Jim Morris, Bobby Darin. The Bobby Darin story, how he died. He died in the operating table.
Yes.
Sandra D. Now, she became an alcoholic because she couldn't, she couldn't marry.
She got a couple DUIs. DUI.
She got, DUIs. They were married in Elizabeth, New Jersey, those two. The Manson murders, the Nelsons, Ozzie, Harriet, David, and Ricky.
Yes.
We all know what happened to Ricky. He freebasing on an airplane.
Yeah.
And Elvis women. Perry Como. Oh, I got to find out about Perry Como. Okay. I'm going to borrow this book.
I can see your mouth moving when you read.
Veronica Lake, who was the shortest actress out there. She was big time. She had the peekaboo curl like this.
In the book, she's a big loner.
Yeah, she's a big loner and probably had mental issues. But she was missing for years and years. And she was beautiful. Young, short with the hairdo. But during the war effort, the girls who were emulating her and having the same hairdo that hung over one eye, like real sexy, they would get caught in a lathe and
rip their hair out.
They got caught from the Rosita Riveters. So she cut her hair and the big thing. Perry Como.
There's a story I want to show you. It ends with she befriended Debbie Reynolds. Right.
Okay.
Very interesting, Debbie Reynolds, about how she got screwed over. She went bankrupt, lost. She was first married to Eddie Fisher. Mm-hmm. And this is where too. This is like somebody. Eddie Fisher's like a nobody. Is he from Philadelphia?
Eddie Fisher was from Philadelphia. He did a lot of. He had a TV show, Coca-Cola Time, and he was
And
he was a big star for a little while, but he couldn't act. He was in like Butterfield 8 with Liz Taylor. He was in a couple of other movies, but
he was popular. But they tried to make him a thing. But Debbie Reynolds was America's sweetheart, and she said that Gene Kelly, who she's with in Singing in the Rain, there's a scene where they're dancing together, and she was afraid because she had to climb a ladder in one of their dance scenes. And she was real fearful about her dress getting ripped off. So she put tape on the ladder. Well, when Gene Kelly's dancing next to her, his toupee got stuck on it, got ripped off his head, and was flipping around. And he got all upset with her. He was kind of a workhorse to her. But in the United States, so in the mid-50s or late 50s, Eddie Fisher was married to Debbie Reynolds, and he had a daughter, Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia from Star Wars. He dumped her for Elizabeth Taylor. And ran for Elizabeth Taylor. They were married for a couple of years, and there was a huge scandal, gigantic. And
it was the biggest scandal out there because Debbie was painted as like the poor victim.
Yes.
Because she just had the baby.
Yep.
And Liz Taylor and her were best friends.
Yes.
And then Liz Taylor was being sort of consoled.
Yes.
Okay. About the death of her husband, Mike Todd, the famous producer of Around the World in 80 Days, the one that paid Marilyn Monroe to have that party with Kennedy, where she sang, "Dear me,
that's right,
birthday, Mr. President." But he died in an airplane crash, and so she was consoled by Eddie Fisher, and then it turned into
and then they were together for a little bit till she met Richard Burton.
Right.
And then they got married and he got dumped. But then Eddie Fisher, though, never really became a superstar. His name was known. But he got
name was
drugs
known,
and pills.
That scandal, I mean, his fan base were
mortified.
Women.
Yeah.
And he...
But Debbie Reynolds...
Oh, my papa.
That was one of his songs.
Yeah.
Well, but Debbie Reynolds still had a soft spot in her heart for him. In this book, it's kind of interesting. Like, she helped him out and stuff. So Debbie Reynolds gets married to another guy who, he's the guy called gambling. And he took all of her money, and when they got divorced, she found out she was flat broke. Right?
He was a shoe salesman.
Right.
Or something, and he had a lot of money from...
Right. So,
and they had a lot of debts that she did not know about.
So she met another guy, did the same thing. Another guy who took all her money and screwed her over. And so she worked really hard. This is like the late 60s to the 70s. She did a Las Vegas review, and she did something very smart. Whit and I talked about it before. Well, who's the studio? Warner Brothers or somebody? When she bought all the costumes.
MGM.
When MGM was closing down because they were losing money in their theatrical production, they all went. MGM went into TV. Well, they're selling off all their wardrobes and props. She bought them all, like Marilyn Monroe's dresses and major things. Well, she worked her ass off and she held on to that stuff. And then she, I know what happened with her. What broke? One of her husbands talked her into opening up a casino. Right,
okay.
And it was off.
I went to that casino.
It was on the main drag, and she had a chance to get one on the drag. The third husband talked her out of it. And they said if it would have been on the drag, it would have been a big hit. It was off the main strip down a side street.
It was down off Fremont Street.
Yeah.
Okay. And inside of it, okay, I got to talk to her because inside of it, she had all the costumes and sets from movies and things hanging from the ceiling, that were all related to the movies. And, I was fascinated.
Oh, and she had like Wizard of Oz and stuff like that. Well, Wid's right. Well, she eventually had a major auction, and she made like $20 to $40 million off all of this stuff. Like she knew, like was not a poor person. But meanwhile, she had Carrie Fisher. And Carrie Fisher and her would smoke pot together, according to the book. And she was good friends with her. She was like her.
What did she call? She called her father because Eddie Fisher would smoke pot with her, and she called him a Puff Daddy.
Right, okay. Exactly right. And in the book here, she says Debbie Reynolds was recovering from some surgery, and the woman who wrote this book said, "Debbie, can I get you anything? Do you need anything?" And she said, "Yeah, a vibrator." and she wanted to vibrate like a wand, and it says it in here. Okay, now here's part of the story. I want to read this to you with my eyes.
She was good friends with Rip Taylor.
Yes,
Her and
yeah.
Rip Taylor were.
All right, and this woman Sue Cameron says this. When I was first in the business, I ended up at a cocktail party at comedian Milton Berle's house.
Uh-oh.
I hardly knew anyone there, and I felt a little bit uncomfortable. And then I saw Milton, and he was coming toward me carrying a tray of hors d'oeuvres. All right, a tray of hors d'oeuvres. In the center, surrounded by crackers, it looked like some kind of sausage or sausage pate. So I picked up a knife and I cut into the sausage on the tray of hors d'oeuvres. And Milton Berle screamed. It was his penis on the tray! Exclamation point. Everyone was laughing at me for falling for the gag. And then I found out that Milton's personal claim to fame was that he thought he had the biggest penis in Hollywood. And all I wanted to do was get something neat. And he said, I got out of there. Right? He must have done as a joke at his parties to walk around with his wang out on a...
He was pretty hedonistic. You know, he was out there. Milton Berle. There was a guy called B.S. Pulley. Okay, B.S. Pulley was a comedian. And you can always find his Laugh Riot records.
Right.
He was also in Guys and Dolls and A Tree Grows in Brooklyn as an actor. And he was in a couple of... he was in a couple of Frank Sinatra things.
Right.
But he was a dirty comedian who used to work the clubs down in Miami, but he'd have his member inside of a cigar box.
Oh, he would do the same thing, yeah.
And he would do the same thing. So Milton, he is the thief of bad gags, and I guess
wang gags.
Pretty much, and that proves it. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, that has been another chapter of the pop culture magazine, Kensil Culture. For myself, the legendary Wid, and our big boss right over here, John Kensil, we want you to subscribe, hit the bell, and go like this.